And one of the delays in reporting cases and deaths is because of nursing homes, as we learned earlier this week. And that's because deaths in nursing homes are not actually normally reported to the county. 2 on your side, Steve Brown is looking into what's being done now to make sure that everything is properly reported.
What we have learned about COVID-19 inside of nursing homes has been slow in coming and has been released by the nursing home operators themselves. It was earlier this week that the McGuire Group was one of the very first to release information about what was going on inside of its facilities. Now, it acknowledged it had over 100 coronavirus cases in 3 of its nursing homes, the largest concentration here at Harris Hill, with a reported 46 residents testing positive for the virus. But most nursing home operators have not disclosed publicly how many cases they might have. The state health department does get that information, but had not released it. Governor Cuomo has previously expressed concern about releasing that data for fear of breaching the privacy of residents and families. But today, the governor indicated that COVID data on individual nursing homes was being compiled for release, even though the process is not easy right now.
You have hospitals that are dealing with hell every day. And you're basically saying, make sure your report isn't late, which is what the Department of Health says. Nursing homes that are dealing with hellacious situations, or make sure your report is on time.
So when does the governor get his hands on this data about individual nursing homes and COVID cases inside them? The governor is supposed to get that today. When does the public get a look at it? Sometime after that, when we do have it in our hands, we will be reporting. In Lancaster, Steve Brown, Channel 2 News.